Hello everyone. Joining me today is Sarat Varanasi, who leads insurance platforms, analytics, and AI at EXL. I would actually put, after some conversation, Sarat as one of those individuals who is sitting at the forefront of being able to embed AI into P&C and also life platforms. And he and his team, I found out, recently helped EXL's insurance large language model in partnership with Nvidia. So we'll probably step into that in a moment. He's also a trusted advisor to the CXO community, and Sarah is also a published thought leader and runs dedicated C-suite forums for insurance clients. Also, with a rich background, including, I think it was more than 17 years at Cognizant, Sarah has also been recognized as one of the top 25 insurance consultants by the Consulting Report, which is actually how I stumbled across him. So, with that, Sarat, welcome, and maybe you kind of just start with a little bit of intro about yourself and what you do at EXL.
Well, I don't think I can do a better intro than what you did already, Danny. So thank you for that. But nice to be here, and thanks for having me on the show. Like you said, I lead the analytics, AI services, and platforms at EXL. And I've been in the insurance space for God knows how many years now. So glad to be here.
Perfect. So, maybe we kind of step into the Nvidia thing first, and maybe kind of how that come across. Well, actually, I suppose that was the approach, but I think the outcome was probably being able to provide large language model type capabilities to the insurance market. But maybe just starting how that idea come about, maybe how the collaboration work, and maybe the role of the clients that you work with, how that featured as part of the outcomes you look to achieve.
Sure, happy to. So the large language model, I think we introduced that probably 18 months ago or so. Um, so we have our AI digital team and we have our team, which is the platforms team. So what we started to observe was, when we went out and looked at simple things like medical record summarization, the publicly available LLMs would give accuracy. You could still get the work done, but they really didn't understand the lingo or the language and the specifics of medical records, as an example. And we at EXL had access to data, right? We provide medical record services, retrieval services, summarization services to our clients. So that's where our clients play a role. So we had access to data with our clients, and of course, some of our clients have agreed for us to use the data. Of course, we anonymize it, but we use the data to train our model. And as a result, we've seen almost 60 to 80% greater accuracy when the records are put through EXL's LLM compared to the publicly available LLM. So that's the genesis of our discussion is, there's a unique use case. We see a lot of customers working on this. The publicly available LLMs were not giving the level of accuracy, and that's how we came up with it.
And was it something that they approached you about, seeing actually that obviously LLMs are gaining traction and everything from kind of the marketing, PR side of it, but then also kind of a deeper technical understanding. So was it something that your clients saw in the market and they come to you with a problem, or was it something more where you saw an opportunity and then took it to clients? What kind of direction did that take?
So we saw an opportunity. We also saw that our clients were experimenting with it, and that's how we came up with the model. And since then, we've worked with Nvidia. We've actually taken our clients to Nvidia, and it's been a fantastic partnership with them as well. But yeah, we saw an opportunity and we saw our client experimenting with it, so we said, why not?
Mhm. So outside of that use case, maybe what are some of the drivers you're seeing your clients? Obviously, kind of part of the intro was the PNC and life platforms. What are some of the other drivers of them using kind of the all broader catchment of AI?
Yeah, so there are multiple, when we talk about AI, there are different things that mean to different people, right? It could be machine language models, which have been there in insurance for, a long number of years. They could be AI, as in, when it relates to content generation, when it relates to natural language processing, or when it relates to processing data that potentially was in unstructured format that you can now process. So that's the actual AI and the LLM and the natural language processing. And then there's the agentic. So we've seen application of that across the board, right? When you talk about machine language models or machine learning models, they've been there forever. Think of subrogation models. What is subrogatable in a claim? How much are you likely to recover from a claim? These kind of machine learning models have been there forever. Now, when you think of application of natural language processing, or if you think about an example of an adjuster going out there and understanding what was the cause for loss, typically they're not captured in a structured format,
Hmm.
captured in notes somewhere. Now, you were not able to use that information before, but now with NLP models, you can actually capture that information, do some analytics on it, and come back and say, these are the main cause of losses that we're seeing. And in this type of models of the vehicle, and in this age group, so you can do a lot more analytics by processing some of the data that you were not able to process before. So that's another example. I think in general, wherever there is rich content, you spoke about marketing earlier, but anything that's content rich, we are seeing significant use of AI. I'll give you a couple more examples. We talked about medical record summarization, turning a 300-page document into a 2-page summary. But think of arbitration letters that are sent out. Think of negotiation guidance that's being given to the claim adjuster. So all of these areas, and even think about RFP responses in a group benefits case, where you're responding to your client, the carrier is responding to a client. So anything that's content rich,
Hmm.
I think you are seeing the use of LLMs and NLPs. I think you're also seeing, I'll provide another use case in finance. One of our clients came to us and said, hey, I want to analyze the reports of all of my competition. I want to look at what kind of questions were asked by analysts during the presentations, and I want you to tell us what to expect. So we actually developed a model for that to look at just the base unstructured data, Q&A, what type of questions were asked, who were the analysts who were asking, and came back to the client and said, this is what you should expect. Our first round came up with almost 73% accuracy with the type of questions that are being asked. And of course, we're refining that. But I just think this has really changed the way our clients are thinking about their business and really become an integral part of what we do today.
Yeah. And you mentioned kind of drill down to the various kind of subtopics of AI. And I suppose in do your clients come to you with a problem and then collaborate, work with yourselves around, okay, what's the best technology fit? Or are they nowadays a little bit more mature around, okay, I think I've heard of this technology, I've done some research on this technology, I've got this problem. How can EXL help? I suppose my question is around maturity now with these various subtopics of AI, and just trying to get some insight there from you.
Yeah, no, the maturity is significantly improved with our clients. Earlier they used to just come and say, how can I use this? Where do I do? Don't get me wrong, I still have clients, as recent as last week, I was talking to a chief claims officer, and one of them said, we are dipping our toes in AI. So how can we think about it? And then we honed in on auto physical damage and how AI and agentic can play a role. But we also have many clients who are much more mature. They have adopted this, they've implemented this in their clients. These days there's a lot of discussion about should we centralize the function? Should it be federated? If it is federated, should there be a COE kind of giving the guidance for it? And almost, there is one client of ours who's actually very mature. And if you've heard of DevOps in the development life cycle, we're talking to them about AI ops, how to frequently roll out the changes, what kind of model should be there, how should I monitor the changes being rolled out, etc. So varied maturity across our clients, but certainly there's not a conversation that happens where they say, I just don't know what's happening. It's mostly about where can I use, how can I use it, and how can I mature it.
And you touched upon actually like operating models and centralization from kind of a COE perspective versus more like a federated approach. Now I'm asked the same thing, and there's never a straight answer of you should do
Yeah.
this. It's always reflective of the business. But um, are you seeing any themes of maybe which is more or less suitable based on organizational size or things like that?
No, I think I'll go with you. I don't think there's a defined answer. Although some would really say that a COE model, which is at least putting out guidelines, is probably important. I centralized versus federated, I don't think there's a straight answer. I think what we have been telling clients is, you know, speed of delivery is important. So whatever works in your organization for that, let's not wait for the claims and the actuarial and the underwriting to come together on a common decision. Let's roll out something with mostly a COE concept, which is rolling out guidelines, but potentially each of those organizations experimenting and or developing something. Now, we do see some parts of centralization happening with the CIO organizations. When it was originally done, mostly the execution was under the business. But we are seeing a trend where we see centralizations happening with the CIO, CDO organization. So the chief digital data officer is playing a bigger role in as we see with many of our clients.
And maybe another question on themes then. So at least some of the organizations that we work with, we try to understand their motivation. And I think speed, as you've mentioned, it should be like an undercurrent, but an important one as well, because there's no point doing things if you're going to take 2 years to get to market or 2 years to improve a processor, as an example. But some of the and also other podcast conversations, we can start to see motivations for using the various subfields of AI falling into increasing revenue, maybe kind of growing the business, to operational efficiency that could also include, as you've mentioned, making adjustments and claims teams more efficient, or actually one that's more focused on risk and I suppose risk aversion, risk mitigation. So again, in the various conversations you're having, are there any kind of themes as to what is motivating organizations to push the boundaries and explore how AI can help them?
Um, I would say, and the impact of that is different. I think efficiency and the ability to grow take a precedence over the others. There are certain use cases that we spoke about earlier, like finance, looking at various analysts. That's also more intelligence, more data gathering type of requirements. But I think primarily, if it helps them write their book faster and or settle a claim faster, and or bring in efficiency into the process. Who wants to read a 100-page document, right? Who wants to go back and look at emails? If you can process that data and make more efficient and effective decisions. But also, I'll give you an example. One of our clients increased their ability to underwrite significantly. They were taking about 12 to 15 days to underwrite a policy. They brought that down to like 8 hours by utilization of AI and data in that space. And they wanted to do that because they understood that they're getting a lot more applications that then they can actually process. So there was a revenue leakage issue, but there was also an efficiency issue that helped them implement that process quickly. So I would still think the primary drivers are efficiency, effective decision making, and generating more revenue. There are certain places, and there are going to be a lot of places where there is cost drivers that will drive the implementation. But revenue takes the cake first.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, always does. Um, so again, you might not have an answer here, but you mentioned a few different titles for kind of like CIOs, CDOs, and things like that. And obviously, there's a collaboration of kind of top table seats that are going to make AI initiatives successful. But I mean, just from the people that are engaging with you, what types of roles are you having these conversations with?
So the CDOs, which is, it started with Chief Data Officer. I think it's morphed into more digital officer with the AI coming into play. I think they play a pretty significant role. In some organizations, we see CDOs sitting in the business, and some we see CDOs sitting in the technology and the CIO org. But they play a pretty significant role.
Mhm.
I also think that, one of the largest PNC carriers, at least in the US, has created operations and data and AI under one leader, as an example, right? Because they believe that operations team, which is underwriting or supporting policies, can significantly benefit with implementation of AI. So they've taken out the data function from the CIO org and put that with the ops leader.
Hmm.
Uh, so multiple combinations of people, but I would say CDOs have played a pretty significant role, and so have CIOs as well. When it comes to security, when it comes to anonymization of data, when it comes to creating the COEs and guidelines, the CIOs play a pretty significant role there too.
Yeah, good. And see, in the next few years, what other C-suite titles we get with the evolution of technology. So, I mean, but
Matter of time, yeah.
but businesses need to keep up, and I think this kind of morphing, ever changing of roles and responsibilities is positive because it's showing businesses, enterprises are adjusting to not just what their customers need, but what their market requires as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, maybe one parting question. Obviously, the point of this podcast is educational, sharing thoughts and experiences with others. But I suppose if you could impart some learnings or some experience, it doesn't have to be one thing, but I mean, what types of things would you want to finally share?
I think, we sometimes we tend to over-engineer for before we go down and select. We've seen that with some of our clients where they tend to over-engineer before they pick a use case on for utilizing AI. I would say it's probably better to learn fast and not over-engineer. And data is a very big dependency for implementation of AI. We spoke about ability now to use unstructured data that insurance companies have always been sitting on, but they have not been able to use. So for us, the concept that we try to talk to our clients is there's data for AI and there's AI for data, which is use AI to extract data that you have not been able to extract before. That's AI for data. But you also need data to implement a true and generate impact on a true AI project. So that's what we keep telling our clients, don't over-engineer. There are use cases that you can implement right away, start with that. And then you don't have to create a 3-year program uh, to centralize the data to implement AI. Now you can actually use AI to extract data as well. So keep it simple.
Perfect. And I quite like that cyclical AI, using AI to gather, provide structure to what historically was unstructured, and that then becomes the foundations to build your AI initiatives upon. Good. Well, Sarat, with that, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Really insightful, and yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Danny, for having me. I hope this was helpful and look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you.